Hey guys, welcome back to Mondays at the Museum. I'm Carrie and I'm here at the Anna Bemis Palmer Museum in York, Nebraska. So for this week's Mondays at the Museum, we are going to be focusing on museums as a whole. It is actually quite an important week in museum history this week, and we have some very important anniversaries to celebrate. So on August 10th, we will be celebrating the 230th anniversary of the opening of the Louvre Museum. That was open to the public on August 10th, 1793. Also this week, 177 years ago, aka 1846, the Smithsonian Institution was created. So we're going to be doing those museums this week. To be fair, I never said this museum was the Mondays at the Museum. It's just, vague on purpose. So if you're watching this, I am assuming you're a fan of museums or you're just a relation of mine and feel like you have to support my channel. Thanks for that. So you probably heard those names quite frequently, the Louvre and the Smithsonian Institution. But do you know anything about their complicated histories? Like that the Louvre started out as a medieval fortress, or that the Smithsonian Institution's benefactor actually never set foot on American soil. Because these are two of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, we're going to divide them up so each gets kind of the fair amount of attention that it gets. So this week we're going to talk about the Louvre. The next week we're going to talk about the Smithsonian Institution. And as always, if you have stories or photos or comments or questions, I'd love to hear about them in the comment section. So the Louvre. It is the largest and most visited museum in the entire world. So the physical building itself was not actually started out as that big. It started out as a medieval fortress that was used as a protection against England. At the time, walls were constructed around the city of Paris to protect it from invaders. And then between 1190 and 1209 AD, during the reign of Philip II, aka the first king of France, it was constructed to hold his treasures and archives. Later on, it was converted to a royal residence, and this was done by King Francis I in 1546. He was a really big art collector, and then when he died, the kings that followed him kind of continued on his legacy to extend the grounds, and each king added more and more square footage and more items to its collection. In 1682, Louis XIV moved his residence from the Louvre to Versailles, and then it was sort of like vacant, and there was a call to turn it into a national art museum that was open to the public. So in 1789, on August 10th, the government opened it as a museum. The collection over time grew rapidly, especially due to people like Napoleon, who was a lot of things, but he was also quite the collector, and a lot of the Egyptian antiquities collection is owed to his conquests. The building's complex itself was completed in 1857. So you know the exterior, and I'm sure that you know about the giant glass pyramid. You are no doubt familiar with its popularity now, but were you aware that it wasn't always so beloved as it is now? It was finished in 1989. There are 673 panes of glass that are held together by metal poles. When it was first established, it was said to be a disgraceful abomination, and many people protested its addition. Some of them were upset because it was designed by a Chinese-American architect, and what did he know about French architecture? Other people were upset because it was based off the Pyramid of Giza, which represented the symbol of death to some people, and why is that there? But if you ask most people, they were said to be upset because it is this giant modern artwork structure literally surrounded by French Renaissance buildings. So it didn't really match, and they wanted something different. Below the pyramid itself is an inverted pyramid, and if you've seen Da Vinci Code or if you've read the book, you will think that Mary Magdalene is buried there. While there are no actual proof or evidence of that, because it was so popular that it's become just a constant talking point, I guess, for tourists, and it's a whole thing. So jumping back to the pyramid itself, it was created because they needed a larger entrance to the museum itself. There was such a high volume of people, and it sort of made things a little bit easier there. So why do so many people go there? It's said that it is roughly 782,000 square feet, and for its collection, it says there are 38,000 or around there pieces on display, and yet total 460,000 pieces in its collection as a whole that aren't even on display. So if you wanted to see everything that there was to see, it would take you around 100 days, and that is only if you spent 30 seconds looking at every single piece in its collection. So there's quite a few items there that are pretty big named pieces that you know of. Obviously the Mona Lisa, which we'll talk about later this week some more. It also houses things like the Venus de Milo sculpture, the Wedding at Cana painting. That's the largest item in their collection. There's also the Code of Hammurabi, which is pretty cool. The building itself is made up of 3 different wings, but there are 9 different departments that are sort of spread out so you can see all the items in those collections all together. So the 9 different departments are as follows. There's the Egyptian antiquities, there's the Near Eastern antiquities, there's the Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquities, there's the paintings, there's the sculptures, there's the Islamic art, there's the decorative arts, there's the prints and drawings, and then finally the most recent, the Byzantine and Eastern Christian art. Moving on in history closer to us, in 2020 it was closed for 4 months due to COVID. This may not seem like a huge deal, but because they get around 40,000 visitors per day, it was a really big deal, and they said that that is the first time that it was closed for that long since World War II. So that's to give you a little bit of perspective on that. It has an extensive collection, and it kind of has something for everybody, as you can see from those different categories. And that's just the basics on the history of the building itself and some of its collection. So this week, because there's so much to it, we're going to be talking about its construction, its contents, its controversy. I'm going to be posting some videos, some photos, some websites, articles, things like that. And I'd really love to hear in the comment section if you've been there, if you want to go there, what you would like to see when you went there. If you have any photos or stories, please share them. I'd love to hear them.